Hello, children. Let us move to a new chapter today, that is nutrition. Nutrition means the supply of organic and organic chemical compounds, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, salts, etc. to the body. So, this is the meaning of nutrition, when organic and organic chemical compounds like fats, proteins, carbohydrates are supplied to the body. All these chemical compounds, they come under a name, one name that is known as nutrients. Okay, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, all these, they are called nutrients. Now, what is a balanced diet? Now, balanced diet is the one that has all the nutrients in the food in the right proportion and quantity. Please remember these two words, right proportion and quantity. Okay? If all the nutrients are there in the food in the right proportion and quantity, that is called a balanced diet. Now, a balanced diet depends on certain things like age of a person, sex, male, female, okay, sex of an individual, lifestyle, what sort of lifestyle the person has, okay. Now, nature of work, that means whether the person has to do like very hard work or just work with sitting at home, or the work very light type of work. So those type of people will again won't need so much of nutrients. Yes, so it depends on the lifestyle also. Special needs. Now there are people who are sick. They will need a different type of diet. Pregnant women, nursing mothers. Nursing mothers means mothers who are breastfeeding. Okay, they will need a different type of diet. Now, classes of food. There are 6 classes of food, 6 main classes of food. They are the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, mineral salts, vitamins, and water. Now, carbohydrates, their composition is they are mainly made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen, they are always in the ratio of 2:1. Okay, now carbohydrates are oxidized in cells to release energy. That means they are energy giving foods. Okay, carbohydrates. Now, example of carbohydrates, the different types of sugars. Okay, sugar, starch, cellulose. These are examples of carbohydrates. Now, sugars are mainly of 2 types: monosaccharide sugars and disaccharides. Now, monosaccharides, the chemical formula is C6H12O6. Can you see hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio of 2:1? Now, monosaccharides, they are the simplest of sugars. Simplest. They cannot be broken down further into simple sugars. This is the simplest form. They need no digestion. They do not need any digestion. They are readily absorbed into the body. Okay. Glucose. Now, examples of monosaccharide sugars: glucose, the common glucose. Okay. That is there in the body. Fructose, that is present in plants. And galactose, it is present in milk. Galactose is present in milk. Disaccharides, made of 2 monosaccharide sugars. Disaccharide sugars are made up of 2 monosaccharide sugars. They are sucrose, maltose, and lactose. Sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose. Makes up a molecule of sucrose. Maltose made up of 2 glucose molecules. Lactose, it is also called milk sugar, made up of glucose, and galactose. So that's why they are called disaccharides, because they are made up of two monosaccharide sugars. Okay, now let us move on to another one, that is starch. Okay, they also come under the carbohydrates. Yes, now starch, it is an insoluble carbohydrate. It is not in the soluble form. Okay, plants store these carbohydrates in this form. Plants store carbohydrates in the form called the starch. Okay, rice, potatoes, maize, wheat, bread are the chief sources of starch. Where do we get starch from? That means all sources of carbohydrates only. Okay, only that when they are stored in the plant body, they are stored in the form of starch. Starch is a polysaccharide made up of many sugar molecules. That's why poly meaning many molecules of sugar, okay, makes up the starch molecule. Now, insoluble polysaccharides. What are the insoluble polysaccharides? Cellulose, glycogen. Okay, starch is also insoluble. Okay, insoluble polysaccharides. One is cellulose and the other one is glycogen. Cellulose, where do we get it? It is on the cell walls of plants. Okay, vegetables, fruits, you'll get it in the cell walls. Roughage, what does the cellulose do? It adds roughage to food, and there is proper functioning of the alimentary canal or the gut. Because it is rough, the food can move very nicely through the alimentary canal. So cellulose adds roughage. It's important, okay? Remember this. Now glycogen. Glycogen, another insoluble polysaccharide. Okay, it is a carbohydrate. Now the carbohydrate, when it is stored in animals, okay, when it is stored in the animals, it is stored in the form of glycogen. Like in plants, carbohydrates, it is there in cellulose form, no? In animals, it is stored in the form of glycogen. And where is it stored? Either in the liver or in the muscles. We will get glycogen in the stored form in the liver or in the muscles. Now, carbohydrates are principal source of energy. Okay, what do we get from them? From the carbohydrates, we get energy. That is the main thing. Now coming to roughage. What is roughage? Roughage, non-digestible cellulose adds to the roughage. Okay, we've already done the cellulose, no? So because it is non-digestible, it does not get digested in our digestive system. Okay, so that brings roughage to the food that we are eating. Okay, it makes the texture rough. Now cell walls, where do we get the roughage from? Cell walls of the plants are made up of cellulose. Fruits, vegetables, I mentioned before. Cellulose is not digested in a food canal. It cannot be digested in a food canal. No cellulose digesting enzymes, because human beings do not have the cellulose digesting enzyme. So till the end, the cellulose remains undigested. Okay, the undigested cellulose being fibrous in nature, rough, fibrous, they're full of fibers in nature. It acts as roughage. Okay, it becomes rough. That's why it adds to the roughage. Since it is fibrous, what happens? It can absorb a lot of water and it can retain the water, the roughage. Not only absorb, but it even retains the water. And because it retains the water, the fecal matter becomes soft. And this prevents constipation. Okay? Now, movement of the food in the intestine is easier because of the roughage. Okay, it stimulates the muscle contraction. Movement of the fecal matter becomes easy. So because of the roughage, what happens is the muscles are stimulated to contract and relax. Okay, so what happens to the fecal matter? It moves very easily, okay, down the gut. Now, what are the sources of roughage? Though I've already mentioned, but still, sources of roughage are vegetables. Okay, vegetables, remember, all plant cell walls are made up of cellulose. Okay, all plant cells are made up of cellulose. Vegetables, corns, fruits, dahlia. Okay, what we have as porridge or maybe as khichdi also, yes. So this is actually just broken wheat, dahlia, then cabbage. Okay, cabbage adds a lot of roughage. It can add a lot of roughage to the diet. So what does roughage do actually? It prevents constipation. Okay, it prevents constipation. So this much for today. Thank you.